Hello, everybody. My name is Christopher Saunders, and this is the Connecticut Sports Talent Show, where we talk all things talents in Connecticut. And on today's show, I'm pleased to have the first-year head coach with the Wilton girls basketball team, Keishaun Macklin. Coach Macklin, first off, I want to say congratulations on getting to the state championship. And, as a first-year head coach, I just have to say, how did you do it? I mean, what's the secret sauce, man?
First and foremost, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Secret sauce, a lot of prayers. I mean, things just actually fell the right way for us. We bunch of talented girls, everybody playing hard, giving it everything they got, and the ball just bounced our way.
It's amazing because obviously being the seed of which you guys were, which is a 12 seed, it's kind of, and it's funny because I was actually kind of walking by my TV and they have the selection show for the men's basketball. And they were going through 1 through 16. And I mean, this time of year, man, is fantastic because, baseball starting back up. You have college basketball, college baseball, you name it. It's just amazing. Being a 12 seed, it's weird because you're right in the middle between you weren't bad enough to be the lower, but then you weren't better to be the higher seed, lower seed, depending on how you look at it. But a lot of 12 seeds are kind of sneaky because people sleep on them. And I felt like your team in particular, just in conversations I had with various people outside and inside the FCAC, I felt like a lot of people slept on your team, and I don't know why.
I mean, we had some losses early in the year that would make people think okay, they're probably not as good as to make it that far. And we played poorly some days. I mean, COVID took a toll on us as well. I mean, there was some different things happened, but we just started gelling and moving at the right time. We preached the same thing the entire time, and it just started to click. Second half of the season. I mean, it did help. We got a transfer that came in. She was allowed to play after the 10 games, so that did help. It gave us extra scorer on the offensive side of the ball, but it really just all came together right at the right time, and the kids are believing and they're ready to go.
Oh, they're definitely believing, and they're dancing all the way to Mohegan. Now it stinks because you got to wait basically an entire week. And probably until later in the week until you know when you're playing. But I'm sure you're going to have, those young ladies, and I'm sure even yourself, trying to keep everybody focused and be like, okay, we got to make sure we get, we keep the itinerary in check. You know what I mean?
Exactly. That's the hardest part, balance. Balance is always a big thing. And we've been going through that the whole year, really just balancing a little bit of fun, a little bit of, relaxed time, a little bit of going hard. I was making a point each and every day to ask them how their day was, just little things like that, just to try to keep the balance going. So it's not just basketball, but sometimes real life conversations. I found that it actually takes the edge off a little bit, and it helps them to give 110% because, when they release some things that they can give a little more. And that's really been our approach, just coaching staff, just making sure we're keeping it fast, fun, and free. Trying to be light with things, just really stay together. A lot of unity.
As a first-year head coach, because I was, in my conversations I've had with various first-year head coaches, one in particular who actually I'll be doing their game tomorrow. He coaches at Ledyard, DJ Exum. He's a former player at Becker, very defensive-minded guy. And it's funny because in a day and age where, in the NBA, it's the 3 and 150, 160, 180 points, it's nice to hear a different voice on the defensive side, preaching defense. You know what I mean? But in my conversation I had with them, I asked kind of as a first-year head coach, what was the biggest difference? And he said, the players buying in, trusting me. It took a little bit. It took until they lost, I think it was 5 of their first 7 games, or 5 in their, of their 7 games that they lost. Then they finally bought into what I was saying. For you, coach, how hard was it, or was it hard at all for the players to buy into your voice, to what you were trying to preach as far as your coaching mentality?
Honestly, I want to say they bought in pretty quickly, to be honest. I mean, I was trying to make sure it stayed fun for them. I didn't really want it to be a job. I wanted them to be able to come to practice and have fun and enjoy putting that work in. And challenging them because a lot of them never played man to man. It's a lot of different things that they didn't do this first time for everyone, a few things. So that was just keeping it fun, keeping those things fun, keeping practice fun, constantly moving. Like we're not watching paint dry. Like we're really gonna play fast. We're gonna play fun, free. Like we're gonna get up and down. Just really have at it. That's what basketball is. So, and I agree with DJ as far as the defensive side. Like that's where it's at, because even if you don't have skill, you can still play D. And that's really the way you like to approach it most of the time. But I can't be proud of these girls, man. They've really bought in, and they're sticking with it. Really are.
How happy, and I'm sure they were ecstatic, but when there was going to be a normal season, because last year was not normal. I mean, at least it wasn't for me. I'm sure it was for a lot of people too, because a lot of teams played 5, 6, 7 games. Some didn't even play that many because of COVID.
Yes.
To be able to kind of get back to some sort of normalcy, and now we don't have to wear masks, which is fantastic. At least up here. I don't know, depending how Wilton is as far as their district.
No mask here. We're good.
That's fantastic. Happy to hear that. At least now we can finally breathe again.
Exactly.
What was the energy like during the preseason and during scrimmages? I mean, was it really high? Just talk to me about that.
The energy was high. I honestly, from being a former player from years and years ago, my biggest thing, like I really just felt sorry for the girls, to be honest with you, man. Just seeing them having to wear masks and having to work through that. So the energy was high, but I just kept in mind, like, okay, this is a tough situation they're in. This is a tough place. Like, I recall doing sprints and running ladders, or if you will, suicides, if you will. And they were nonstop. Like, they didn't stop. They just kept going. And this time around, I wasn't taking that approach. I'm like, yeah, we're going to be in shape. Thank goodness I have a lot of 2-sport athletes, 3-sport athletes in the team. So they come in shape, which was good. So I didn't have to really bog down practice and really take the air out of the ball, if you will, with that, So they came in already hot. So we were able to just get right to it and focus on little things. Let's make a layup here and there. Let's actually understand spacing, just little small things, just really trying to make the game more fluid for them.
Now, you said you played basketball way back when. Where did you play at your high school, and did you play in college too?
I played at Kobe Cathedral, graduated in 96. Yeah.
Really?
Actually, Actually, I played under Coach Full. Then I went to a junior college. I did that before I got injured. I played up at Mattituck. I played at Mattituck. I played there for a couple, and I got injured and gave the game up, so to speak. But still coaching it, still around it. Family's huge. Everybody plays, so I'm always at a game somewhere.
I was going to say, because, being a Kobe guy, and I know we're getting off topic with this, but it kind of leads in because, I broadcast for the NVL, and Kennedy played against Kobe during the regular season, and they lost at Kennedy. And depending on how it goes, if Kobe beats Berlin and Kennedy beats Ledyard, we could see a second game, a rematch on Wednesday. So is that going to be a game where you may end up going if that happens? Could I see that?
Yeah, I always like to support Coach. If I can make it there, I'll definitely be there. But it's a lot of similarities. A lot of his staples are maybe floating around in my brain a little bit. With the clapping on the sidelines and the jumping up and down and intensity. I'm almost close to that. Not as rough as Coach, but I'm I'm definitely in that same arena.
I was going to say, and I didn't broadcast the game, but I was watching it because I heard so much about Kobe. I vote in the game time poll. So I had them always in the top 10, top 12, just because they're so talented. Being in the SWC, when you have the Newtowns with Tall Couch, who is one of the legendary coaches for what he's done. And I can go on and on and on with so many other coaches in that conference. But, Kobe they just seem like a well-oiled machine, man. And they look like they're primed for a run. And I'd love to see that rematch with Kennedy again, because it was intense. As the coach for Kobe was, like you said, up with I felt like he was the sixth player.
Yeah, that's pretty much how we do it. I definitely mirror a lot of that. The girls will tell you, my goodness, they say I'm always in defensive stands, because I am. I mean, it's just how I go,
There's nothing wrong with that. Actually, it's funny that you say that. I don't know if you know the head coach for Wilbur Cross on the boys' side, Coach Walton, Kevin Walton. He's in that same kind of thing where I felt like, because I was doing their game on Thursday against Naugatuck, and I felt like he was playing the game. He was always in that. I don't think he moved from his defensive stance And then the first time he did, it was to take his jacket off because he was wearing a really nice tie, a nice bow tie. And he was like, all right, I got to take that off because now it's getting crazy because it was an intense game, man.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, that's probably the fun part for me on the sidelines, just really getting up and down. Like I haven't made a rule. I tell my assistants, I need 30 seconds. I need to sit down for at least 30 seconds. I think my high this year was 42 seconds. I stayed seated,
42?
Yeah, boy, did great,
That's funny, dude. That's funny. But hey, as far as kind of bring it back, I know we got off topic. I apologize, but it's fun to talk about this stuff.
Absolutely.
Back to Wilton. I know, obviously, like you said, you had some losses. You had some, probably as any team would, some highs, some lows. When did you feel like this team started to click, where things were starting to go the way that you expected this team to go?
I would have to say Staples was probably not the team Staples, but the staple game was probably St. Joe's. We had St. Joe's. We ended up losing, but I mean, it's a 3-point game with 3 minutes left, and when the girls actually seen that they brought it to that and they can actually hold their heads up high, even though they took a loss, they really, I think they really, at that point, they were like, we probably can make a little run. We can get it there. Personally, I love the fact that we played Kobe and we beat him in overtime, third game of the season. I was really, really impressed with that win. But the next day, COVID hit us, and that's where we lost 7 of our 8 seniors. So that's where that's where things took a little bit of a turn, in a different direction. But we got back on track, thankfully, and here we are.
Even with the losses because of COVID, and it's funny that you mentioned that because there were teams in my conversations with coaches where they lost players early on, but because of that, looking at it from a glass half full, that opened up opportunities to kind of see what you had on the roster. So then when you had the reinforcements coming back, maybe you found a 7th player off the bench. Maybe your bench got a little bit deeper. Did that happen at all for the team by any chance?
Absolutely. I mean, when we started, we were starting 3 seniors, 2 sophomores, and then COVID hit, so we're starting a freshman, a senior, and 3 sophomores, and just trying to really make sense of it all. But when I first began, like one of the goals was to have at least 7 players lead us in scoring at some point this year, and I mean, granted, they weren't all seniors. I had a freshman once, I had a couple sophomores. It's a mixed bag, which is good. I think it's good for the program. I think it's good for the girls. I just think it just helps in the long run because in this day and age, like at this point in the game, a senior can make that pass to a freshman and she's open and trust her, and family trust and communication is huge. And I think those earlier games proved to be the actual catalyst to help us trust each other even more.
I was going to say, I think, every team has a story. I think every team has something that kind of says, this happened. Not to say that COVID hitting never is good, but again, to look at it from a positive standpoint, at least I try to do that. I don't know if you do that, but I try to look at things in a positive, outlook. Because COVID hitting, and it kind of in some ways would have exposed many teams, it opened up opportunities. And now because of, as in the state tournament, when you get to that point, if you run into foul trouble, or maybe a couple of, some of your players' shots are just not going in, just like I've seen it, you've seen it, we've all seen it. But it's nice to be able to, like you said, the family aspect, being able to trust, hey, back in late January, my shot wasn't working, but this player, was able to kind of get it going. Let's go back to that well and see if it works. You know what I'm trying to say?
Absolutely, 1,000%. It's funny because even to this day, like first person off the bench is a freshman, and she's coming in hot. Like she's coming in with a lot of fire, because she's a freshman. There is no wrong, we're here and we're playing, and I like that, and the girls like it too, and just she comes with all the energy, and she's here ready to go, and I think it just helps. It helps everybody as a whole, just to really be that unit,
Now, when you saw the bracket, as far as kind of what was going to be in for Double L, obviously you saw Trumbull, and I know you didn't see after that because who knew kind of who you were going to play after, because teams had to play against each other. Obviously, Double L was probably one of the best, if not the best, amongst L, double L, M, double M, S, etc. What was your outlook kind of looking at that bracket?
It's funny because I wasn't even paying attention. I knew we had Trumbull first round. That's all I could really see. And one of my coaches was like, "Yeah, Fairfield Ludlow's waiting for us, second round." And I'm like, now mind you, they just really got us pretty good about a week or two before that. So I'm like, okay, obviously still not looking ahead because you never want to overlook anyone, but
Exactly.
knowing that we had to go through Ludlow was like, all right, well, something that we have to do. If we want it, this is what we had to do. And we played them. We played them tough, and we started to break a little bit. And I just had to let the girls know, like, we're not going to do this. Like, we're not just going to fold. We're not going to cave in, because I think it was becoming a bit much for them. So I just had to weather that storm and say, no, not today, because we want to keep playing. And thankfully, we pulled it out. It rolled a couple of right ways for us, and here we are.
How was your blood pressure because of that overtime game? Because I'm sure the defensive stance was getting tiring after a while.
It's good. My pressure's pretty good. I'm happy about that. But I mean, honestly, overtime was tight, but we were able to hit the first 3 balls of overtime. Once I seen that go, I said, okay, we're in a good spot. That's with us. If we're knocking them down, we're a pretty tough team to beat.
After that game, I mean, I'm sure the energy was as high as you can be, but at the same time, and I kind of, in my conversations I had with a coach in the NVL who his team beat Darien. He's the head coach at Career. Career won on a bank shot of all bank shots. The kid who made the shot, his father actually, because it was at the high school, which his father's banner hangs as one of the all-time scorers. I think his first name is Phil Lott. Phil Lott. I don't know if you know that name.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
His son, he's got one son, Zion, who's now playing in the next level. And then the younger son, Zaire Lott. His younger son made the shot, the bank shot, and it was amazing. But in a game like that, Coach, it's one of those things where you wonder, is there going to be a down, like a little bit of a steep fall just because of that intensity, the energy? You worry about, can the team rally back? For you, Coach, was there any sort of concern after an overtime bit, a big win against Ludlow, who just beat you a couple weeks prior, that you were going to have a little bit of a lull going up against Hill House?
It's always a concern floating around. You never want to see a letdown, and it's always a possibility, especially like you said, emotionally draining like that. But it seemed like our kids just got more energy. Like they believed even more. Like they just pressed on even more. Like, okay, as long as we're able to understand what we need to do in the defensive end, like they seemed like they were in a good spot. And that's one thing I try to listen to them as much as possible, communicate with them as much as I can. And if they're not comfortable with the defense, then we'll make some adjustments. If they're not comfortable with an offense, then we'll try to find other adjustments. I try to listen to them in regards to what it is that they feel comfortable with. And they were fine. Like when they were locked in and they said, this is what we're going to do, I'm all right, let's go. We're not adding any plays. We're just playing,
The scariest teams, man, are the ones with confidence. The second scariest are teams that, like you said, a freshman's like, hey, coming in, has no idea, just letting it fly.
That's it. No remorse, just letting it go.
And I think it's great because you think about it, like the whole aspect of just the family, trust, believing, the confidence. I mean, it just kind of brings it all together. And to get to this point in the championship, it's just, to be honest, I'm not surprised. I'm really not.
Yeah. I honestly, it's, I like to say as a coach, like, I knew we could do it. The fact that they really locked in and just believed, even against infield, like we were having a tough to go, at one point in the first quarter, like looking really bad. And we came in the huddle after the first quarter. And I just looked at everybody in the eyes. I said, okay, let's just have a deep breath. Everyone just take a deep breath, breathe in and breathe out. Like, let's really think about this right now. Now let's go play, because you could see they were all over the place. They had a million different things in their minds, and I mean, with COVID and just, with everything, seniors not playing last year, just all the things that we have going on, I needed them to be okay in their mental space, because that's when they play the best. As long as they're okay mentally, they're pretty tough to deal with.
And you took one of the best at least as far as amongst game time. You took down a top 10 team, the number one in Class Double L. You're now going up against the number 2 team in Class Double L. I mean, that's like taking down Godzilla and then his partner, whoever that could be. I mean, no,
Yeah.
but seriously though, it's like if you guys are able to complete this and win the entire thing, this has to go down as one of the top, I mean, best teams. I mean, I don't know the history of Wilton as far as girls basketball, so I apologize. But as far as team and everything, this has to go down as one of the best teams ever because of the gauntlet that you had to go through to get to that point.
Yeah, I mean, I would have to agree with you. I mean, I know their Wilton basketball has been there. This will be the second time. Once in 2015 where they won it, and then this is the second time right here. So none of these. I believe it's funny to hear the girls talk about it like they were in 5th grade when they were going to this game to watch it. You know, that room back in 2015, and just seeing how they're there now and how they didn't play last year, like some of the seniors. And I mean, pretty much it's a brand new team. You know, just everybody coming together, just to be here right now. It's amazing. I will say that town is competitive. That town loves to be in the mix, and I like that, and I love the fact that they love to compete, you know, and just really expect good things, you know, because they're giving it all, you know, like they won't get tired. That's for sure.
I mean, it also helps they play multiple sports, which is not a surprise, you know,
Exactly.
because Wilton sports, you know, if it's baseball, if it's soccer, if it's football, whatever it is, it's always going to be competitive. And on top of it, and what I really noticed too is that they respect the coaches. I mean, whenever the coaches are telling them to, you know, the coaches are not doing it to be authoritarians. They're doing it to try to help and try to mold. I mean, and hey, look, whatever worked here got you, you know, championship. I mean, come on, doesn't get any better than that.
Yeah, no, I mean, we're here. We're at the Sun, you know, and that's the biggest thing for me. Just trying to keep giving them points at the game, basketball game, just so they can make it simple and keep it simple for themselves. They don't want to really overcomplicate things. You know, we're here just to make them better basketball players if they can, better people. You know, and just keep going and just keep the tradition alive. That's really my goal all the time.
Now, how much of the Wilton community are we expecting the entire town to be at Mohegan? Because that's a pretty big town.
It's a strong possibility, especially if the boys get there as well. It's gonna be that's gonna be a different situation, to be
Well, you
honest.
know what? You got to tell Coach Guriak, all right, how am I going to game plan against the big guy from Bristol Central? Got to figure that out.
Oh my goodness, I'm sure. It's funny. I was talking to my assistant today. I'm sure he has not slept at all. Like I'm almost positive he's coming up with some type of plan. I mean, that's a once in a lifetime player he's going up against. I mean, Donovan's a serious talent. You know, obviously he's set it to UConn, so hopefully Joe can actually pull a rabbit out of a hat. Like that's the goal.
If you know, obviously you coach on the girls' side, but I know you played at Kobe. If
Yes.
you were to go up against a player like that, what would be your strategy? Because I love asking coaches like yourself this who played in the past. What would your game plan be, or how would you go up against Donovan Clingan? What would you do?
I mean, you're not stopping him. Like you're not going to stop him. You're not going to shut him down. I don't really think it's possible on this level, to be quite honest. So at the very least, what you want to do, you want to, you know, hopefully no one else actually contributes major, and you want to get up and down. I mean, you want to try to take advantage as much as possible. But I mean, they do a pretty good job of just controlling the game, controlling the tempo, and going with what works. You know, so I mean, I can see that still being the case, but just you got to try something. You got to try something, and you definitely don't want to try to pound it inside. That's for sure, because that's not going to work.
No, and like you said, Coach Guriak is probably not sleeping and probably has not slept since his game against Holy Cross.
Absolutely, definitely, almost 100% sure of that.
Coach Macklin, I really do appreciate you coming on. You know, I could talk to you forever, but I wish you nothing but the best luck in the championship. I hope, if Holy Cross was to win and that they'll be at Mohegan and that if they play the same day as, you guys do as well, hopefully our paths could cross because you're a really cool dude, man. And like I said, I could talk to you forever. This was a lot of fun.
No, I appreciate it, Chris. Anytime. Thanks for having me. I really, really do appreciate it. Thank you.
No problem. I'll wrap things up here in the Connecticut Sports Talent Show. So until next time, stay safe. And remember, CT stands for Connecticut Talent, and I'm on a journey to find them all. Enjoy the rest of your day, everybody, and be well.